Welcome to the Deconstructing Data podcast. I'm Jessie Lezak, CMO at BDEX, and we have David Wellborn, BDEX's CTO, with us today. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. Welcome back, DW.
Hello. Nice
And I wasn't on mute this morning or this time when I when I brought you in. That was
last
time.
Yeah. We'll probably have some other thing happen, like my grandkid come running in here in just a second. So,
I mean, we're human. We're not robots, right?
Exactly. And it's live. This is what happens when it's live.
Exactly.
I always love being on here because I learn so much each time I'm on here. So I hope to learn some more today.
And we hope to learn some more from you too, because as I mentioned last week, our TikTok viewers especially like it when you're here, DW. So I'm glad that you're back. And this week we're in for a real treat. I'm always especially excited when we can bring on strong women leaders in tech. And this is one of those weeks. So get ready for an exciting episode of Deconstructing Data as we welcome a dynamic leader in the tech sector who is not only revolutionizing the industry, but also championing diversity and inclusivity. Our guest is a co-founder of a Chicago-based web and mobile app development powerhouse who, with their passion of continuous learning and improvement, has built a company that specializes in digital marketing automation, helping companies align their technology strategy with their business objectives. So not only is our guest an expert in their field, but she is also a role model for aspiring tech leaders and a mother of three. She has a unique perspective that she brings to the table, and always striving to make a difference through inspiring keynote presentations, mentoring sessions, and informal talks. So with her industry expertise, her infectious energy, and commitment to growth and educating others, she's a true force to be reckoned with. So who is our amazing guest? Let's please welcome Veronica Buitron, CEO and co-founder of Chassis and Tango Code. Let me bring her in. Welcome to the show, Veronica.
Hi everybody. And thank you so much for having me here, especially for that intro. We're recording this, right? Because
Absolutely.
I'm taking that and I'm putting it on repeat. Anytime I'm doubting myself, you're going to be there, Jessie, with me.
Well, thank you. It was so great in learning about you and reading all of the wonderful things you're doing. So thank you for giving back so much to the community. And I'm really excited to talk with you today.
Thank you. I'm excited too, and I'm ready to learn. Right? I'm share and learn. That's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely. So could you please kick us off, Veronica, and tell us your story? What led you to Chassis and Tango Code, and also what problems you help solve there?
Righty. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to not be like this super long story. My story is kind of long. So as Jessie was saying, my background is in technology. So I am a developer, or ex-developer, I guess I would say. So I specialized, or I built my career in custom development, and specifically working always in using technology to develop operational efficiencies. Although initially my operational efficiencies were mainly right in ERP integrations, workflow, big systems. And through that, I had the opportunity and the experience to work with a small agency, so an ad agency. They basically were small at that point. Actually, they grew quite a bit afterwards, but they had big dreams and they wanted to become a Google Premier partner. And one of the requirements to do that, it was that they were able to scale. So they needed to prove that they were able to scale. Now, the only problem that they had is they had no, internal development. They run the business in Excel and using a myriad of different tools to help them. But that really didn't get them to the point of being able to demonstrate that they scale. So we started to working with them through custom development, and I was able, and I was really lucky to be able to witness firsthand what that world was and what digital marketing meant and what it meant the life of marketers, right? That they had to deal with all the different nuances of what Google thought it needed to happen to get an ad up and running on their engine, or what Facebook needed think about it, and how different the things was, and how much repetitive work they had to do. So I first at the beginning I was like completely in awe about the marketers and how people that really study to to be able to understand and extend offerings, they were really having to deal with all these marketing complexities. So first I thought, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Why there's not like a an ERP? Why there's not already these systems providing solutions? And then I saw an opportunity. Obviously, I said, okay, here there is an opportunity to help. There's an opportunity to bring automation, and literally out of that experience, we completely changed Tango Code's focus, and instead of being like a general custom development, we started to specialize in digital marketing, in bringing efficiencies, in helping companies actually build their own custom platforms and integrate with different tools, and really more than anything, help them support their differentiation. And so as we started doing that, we started to see that we learned a lot. We did that through many years, and we learned a lot through that process, and seeing that custom development is a big commitment, and there are many pieces that were not like unique, and there are many pieces that were repetitive, and that if we started to build building blocks, we could bring this system faster. So then we started to develop what we call the building blocks. We were very fortunately to work with Google and to work with Facebook, and even in particular, Google actually helped us spearheaded and they to bring Chassis to life. So they actually help us with our marketing funds bring the first version, and we said, okay, if we could take those building blocks and we can actually build a product around it, and we promised ourselves that with Chassis, we're going to bring a product not like those products that the agencies were working with, but a product that it will support the different needs and the different flavors that the different agencies will need. It will support what marketing services platform will need. It will be able to be integrated and fun to use. So there we are.
That's really interesting. Well, thank you so much for that intro.
That long-winded intro?
No, I mean, it's great to learn about that. Were you going to say something, David?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, so this custom development took place at Tango Code, right?
Yes.
And but you also show up as being the co-founder of Chassis, right? Would that be related to your things that you did at Tango Code?
Exactly. So as we were working in Tango Code in this custom platform development, that's when, and we started to create these building blocks. That's when we saw the opportunity to productize them, right? And the funny thing is, like, we're a services company, right? And one of the things that happened when a services company is going to create a product, the first thing is like, people will say, no, you shouldn't do that. Service companies are not good product companies. But in my personal history, I was kind of like used to hear that I shouldn't do certain things that, then I always end up doing. So I would be like, wanted that challenge. And we knew that we can actually bring our knowledge to build a really good product. So the building blocks and the knowledge that we collected in Tango Code helped us bring together and create Chassis, which is an ad tech platform that automate ad delivery for Google and Facebook in particular.
Very cool.
I'm
frantically writing notes here because a couple interesting points there. The services versus product, that's always
that was a good
interesting division.
Yes. That's literally was like the first when we started asking around. That was like, don't do it.
Yes, but you can't listen to everyone who says don't do it, right? And good thing you didn't.
You can't, think about it, so many things in my life. If I would be like, don't do, I will not even be in the US to start with.
It's true. I definitely wouldn't be here either. I wouldn't be on this show. But how is Martech automation critical for proper data collection? If you don't mind, I'm going to jump right into our first topic. And you are the expert on marketing automation. So if you don't mind, would you mind kicking us off on this first topic, Veronica?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, this is something, and definitely, knowing that here we have an expert in data, I would really wanted to validate. But this actually is a very important topic when we started in digital marketing, right? And when we were looking at where can we bring the most value, we saw that there were many tools that will help agencies do reporting on the data. So they were able to do dashboards and reporting on the data. And so we saw, okay, so there's all these different tools. However, one of the problems that we saw, it was that you can take data out, right, of these engines of Google and Facebook and TikTok and all these other ones, right? But how you make sense of it, right? And how much effort was out there to make sense of it, to clean up, to ensure that that the data could be analyzed together, to ensure that that you can actually do something with the data. So we started to think about with the in development, there is this concept of garbage in, garbage out. So we were starting to think okay, what if we can make that data much cleaner going in? And that's why, for example, from a Chassis perspective, we focused on how to create really well-structured campaigns, how to make it easy to label them across, how to make the experience of creating, things in Google and in Facebook the same way. Because what we wanted to ensure was if the data is clean to start with, right? Once you bringing it out, it would be easier to be able to analyze and make sense of it. Because you need data to learn, right? But you need data, but you need to be able to transform it into information to really be able to use it, right? And there's so much in marketing about data. And I'm always thinking about, what about information? What we're calling insights, right? How do you get there? And there's a lot of work that has to go into that. But one of the things that, I strongly believe would be that you need to have as clean data coming in as possible to be able to, when it comes out, you can analyze it and you can find ways of making it information. And for that, really, you need automation. It's so hard to do that at scale, one at a time.
We're all about clean data. We have a fraud-free guarantee here at BDEX. But yeah, David, I can see that you're burning to talk on that topic.
Well, actually, I was going to just mention is that one of the things that's very, what you said, having to think about basically what goes in and what goes out and what you're trying to achieve. And we talked about this recently with somebody else here on the same podcast. Is data a means or an end? And a lot of times people are focused on gathering data, and we'll make sense of it afterwards. And when you do that, you may forget or not take into account things that you actually need before you start the campaign. So I think it's safe to say you did the exercise of knowing what you wanted to achieve, right? What the goal was. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so we, from our perspective, what we wanted, it was like, where can we provide the most value? Okay, so where can we help, right? And knowing that data was really important and understanding that you need to be able to make sense of it, right? We were thinking, okay, if we can help being sure that that data goes in a uniform way, it's much easier to analyze it, right? Mm-hmm. So we build like Chassis, and we build tools in order to be sure that the data goes into the engines in a uniform way. So then when it comes out, you can actually analyze it. You can actually be able to compare, Google with Facebook.
Directly.
You are able to understand like what happened to, that campaign that I run in this region versus that other region. What is the different performance that it has, So it helping into ensure that the data, it's uniform, right?
So the data collection, you're using Google's and Facebook's data collection mechanisms?
Yeah, so we basically, yes, we do, but we don't, at least not in Chassis, we don't work into the actual processing of the data afterwards, right? So we help marketers like be able to create all the campaigns in Google and Facebook and bring the data back. So then it can be, put together with all the other sources of data that you will have in marketing and be able to analyze it much easier.
Gotcha. So you're just make sure I understand your value add is in the normalization, I guess, of the process of dealing with Google or Facebook or any other platform, right? That's great.
And how you're creating, those campaigns at scale.
Nice. Very cool.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to transition us into topic 2 and talk a little bit more about ad platforms because, there's definitely a lot of technology out there. What can marketers do to streamline the constant evolution of ad platforms? Veronica, do you mind kicking us off?
Yeah. So that's definitely, an interesting question. How can you streamline the constant evolution? So one thing that we know for sure is things are going to change and it will continue to evolve. And the other thing that we know for sure it is that you need to be able to scale things and you need to be able to simplify in order to do that. So one of the things that we try to help our clients is to really kind of like step back and try to simplify and understand so what is common. Don't focus on the differences, right? Focus on what is common, because if you actually focus on what data, what information is common, you will be able to then put either processes or tools into manage the information that is common, and then you can basically put other processes to the one that is different. But if you just take every evolution or every ad engine silo, it's going to be much harder to be able to make it more efficient, if that makes any sense, and be able to streamline, processes.
Is this like the 80-20 rule? 80% overlap everywhere. There's no point in worrying about the 20% that doesn't overlap.
Exactly, and you can also with that you also have the opportunity to react to that later, right? So automate what is specific to a platform. It's potentially more expensive, so you can actually do that only once you really need it, once you have defined the scale. So you get, there's a new engine, or maybe you are, you're working with Google and Facebook and you're hearing about TikTok, and now you need to basically work with TikTok, and then you need to be worried about, so how do you bring it in, how you make it be part of that same process, right? But you don't know yet at what point you're going to scale. So the idea would be like, okay, what it is information that I need to put in there that is common with what I'm already doing it? In which parts of my processes that I already have, I could then piggyback into that effort to then be collecting the same information that I'm going to need for TikTok, for example. And the part that it's different for now, I might, do something, manually, or utility, or, or some easier way until I have a reason, and I have a scale, and then I will focus on, okay, how do I solve that part that is different?
Very good. It's a very good strategy.
Absolutely.
For leveraging your efforts.
I'd never heard the 80-20 rule before, DW. Can you explain that?
Well, yeah, it's used in a lot of ways, but you can see 80-20, that ratio appear in a lot of contexts, and one of them is this: you have a DMP number 1, 2, and 3, and the chances are between 70 or 80% of the functionality is basically the same, or can be presented as being the same, which is important. And then the 20%, may not be, but this also translates to effort. For 80% of the result, it's lower effort, but the final 20% tends to be a lot of effort. So a lot of people just go for the 80%. I don't know if I explained that properly or not, but it's a common rule.
Yeah, Pareto rule. Or I don't know how
Pareto,
you guys,
exactly.
the Pareto rule.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
it is.
That's the 80-20. So you always kind of like focus on what is, there's always a cost, right? That it is getting that 80, just focus on that.
Exactly. So extending that Pareto rule, if you look at the categories in a Pareto that make up, the first few usually make up 80% of the total. You have this long tail of possibilities. And so I think Veronica is saying, don't focus on the long tail of little stuff, just focus on the big stuff,
The one that makes the most impact.
Absolutely. Yeah. So definitely a good term for a lot of our viewers to look at. I'm sure most people have heard of it when you say the Pareto principle. Basically, go ahead.
If they take nothing else away from this podcast, that methodology right there will save people a lot of headaches and money and time.
Absolutely. Yeah. The 80-20 rule is like, always. It's like, what will impact the 80? That's where we're going.
So 80% of consequences come from 20% of causes. Yeah. I'm trying to think of how any other simpler way to say it in fewer words. All right. Well, I'll transition us then. If there's nothing more on the Pareto principle into
we can.
Number 3. No, but it's a good one, and it does come up every so often. But how can you promote creativity, innovation, and better data-driven results using software? I'm curious to hear about the creativity piece, because especially with data, we tend to get technical sometimes. But how can we take that technology and use it to help us be more creative?
Well, actually, I happen to think that you have to use technology in order to be creative. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, we as human beings, we are creative by nature, okay? If, I always said, like, try to make a person do the same thing over and over in the exact same way, and you're going to see how creative that person is. There's always something changing, So if we don't use technology, the problem is that we will be spending time in doing repetitive things. if we don't use technology, we're going to be spending time in doing things that we shouldn't be doing, which it takes time away from being creative. Because in order to be creative, you need to be able to have the opportunity to experiment and to try things. That's really how we're able to use our creativity. And we are not going to be able to experiment and take time to, test different things if what we're doing, most of our time is doing just, tactical, repetitive tasks to get the work done. So
menial tasks.
Yes. I have to think that you definitely, we need technology to be creative.
I love that.
Yeah, I've always said, and I don't know how it's going to sound here. Maybe we can edit it out if it doesn't go over well. But and one of the traits of a programmer is laziness. I know it sounds kind of funny, but they're very hardworking when it comes to programming and stuff like this. But I mean laziness in that we don't feel like doing the same thing over and over, so we automate it so we can do something else. So.
Absolutely. I always said, the right level of laziness, it's like perfect,
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
I think also, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think you are also, what I like to call that the creative time, it's playtime. Mm-hmm. People need to be able to play in order to learn and come up with stuff.
Yes, you need to be able to experiment. You need to be able to have, a safer environment to be able to experiment, right? And that's really what technology can provide. It can provide you a way of, focusing on the things where creativity is needed instead of the places where it's not needed because it's supposed to be the same. So that's where robots are great for, much, much better than we are. And that's where they're supposed to be doing for us. It's, allowing us to take all that time that it's needed, to do, a lot of the data collection, a lot of the, research, a lot of the bringing us all this information so we can then, use our creativity, the human creativity, to be able, to innovate.
That's such a grounding reminder. Go ahead, DW.
No, I just feel like I have to qualify the word play because maybe my developers will be out there playing ping pong. That's not what I meant. I meant play with technologies, play with new ideas, stuff like
Click
that.
Around. So. Absolutely. And I was just saying, I think the idea is really grounding because I love to be creative. But when you think about it in terms of the scientific method, it allows you to really learn from it as well and test. And I love that idea. And I think it's important that marketers, stay focused on that, because I think a lot of the times it is easy for us to go down a rabbit hole and want to justify our creativity because we spent so much time in it without really thinking about, how it's performing, and all the other things around it. So I think I love the idea of thinking about it in terms of the scientific method, because then at least we're learning from it. We're not just doing things to do things. We're not just creating to create. So yeah, I think that's really important. And if listeners aren't getting anything from this now, they definitely should go check the analytics on all their creative, if nothing else. But what tip would you add, Veronica, before we transition again?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's absolutely, that's great. That's actually a great point that you were bringing. So it's not only, technology to help us, automate repetitive work, but it's also technology to help us learn, right? To help us learn about what we have done and how we can make it better, right? So that example that you brought about, analyzing, I think that it's super, super important. So when you work in technology, that is almost a given, right? That's what we do all the time, right? That's we collect, we analyze, we see what we need to change and learn. But when you think about marketing, sometimes that is something that marketers might think that it's a different thing. I don't need to do that, and in reality, you need to do that in order to be a better creative, right? Because what you need to be able to understand will be, okay, what was your impact, and what do you learn about that impact? So then that could actually even feed your creative juices, right? So it's not only repetitive, but the part of learning, I think, is super important. And I'm glad that you brought that point.
So you're basically talking about being data driven, right? If you're getting data on your campaigns and then making decisions based on that.
Yeah.
Right.
Be able to use the insights basically of the data to guide your creativity.
But also keeping in mind what you were saying earlier, always garbage in, garbage out. So if we don't follow the scientific method in terms of like having a hypothesis or, an exploratory question that helps ground us in the data we're collecting and using, then, you got to really think about it full circle. And a lot of time us creatives like to forget about the scientific method and thinking about these things, and so that can get dangerous when you bring up automation, because if we automate something too soon without considering the data, I mean, boy, that can get messy.
So I imagine that some marketing firms just do a spray and pray kind of approach. Let's get a lot of volume, see what happens. And what I think what you're proposing is that you're actually better off maybe doing more of a targeted approach and then doing the proper analysis with something like your software, right?
Yes. Yeah. So especially, for example, in the ad tech marketing. So think about like we, as marketers, and the area where we help it is about bringing ads to help companies promote their services or their product and help basically companies get leads and get sales, right? And get the brand out. So that is their responsibility of our clients and what we help them basically through technology do at scale. So when you think that's your responsibility and you need to do it at scale, what you need to be able to do is think about it is like, how can I take my expertise and make an impact in the widest way possible, right? So if I take my expertise and I craft every ad without thinking, in patterns, so without thinking about, okay, how does it make this impactful and how it's going to make it impactful across, multiple ads or across multiple different companies, is you really are using your creativity, if you think about it, almost in the being wasteful, about it, right? But if you can't use your expertise and your creativity in a way that you can scale it and that you can then be able to analyze it, you get a lot more ROI out of your effort, and therefore your clients do too.
Okay, so I was going to ask you next, how do you measure success? I think you just answered it.
Yeah. Success is measured by, the success of your clients. That's the only way.
Yeah. Return on investment.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. Or a return on ad spend, depending on how you define it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's cool.
So Veronica, one question we ask all of our guests is, what are some of your favorite tools in your tech stack? So would you mind sharing maybe 3 to 5 of some of the favorite tools that you and your team use on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, definitely. So tools in our day-to-day basis, we use Jira, that's where how we we organize our work. We use, HubSpot for the part of the, the deals in the CRM and the pipelines. If you need to get ads out there, Chassis.
That's great.
And then we, all the the Google tools, the Google, Drive and stuff like that. The one thing Grammarly, ESL on me, right? I am from Uruguay. I'm Latin, and I came here already as an adult. But love Grammarly. Like we basically put, everybody has to have a license on it, and can't send an email communication or anything without going through that.
Oh man, Grammarly gets me in trouble sometimes. Just I feel like it corrects me sometimes when it shouldn't, and then I don't realize it. So I had to turn Grammarly off for me because it was
really
for me.
Well, maybe I will not even know if it corrects me when it shouldn't. I'm just
yeah, maybe.
No, but I actually that's the thing of how I think it's our relationship with AI, right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm excited about it, because in reality, the relationship, for example, with Grammarly, it's really a two-way, right? So it's about, I write something, I get suggestions. Those suggestions prompt me other changes, not maybe exactly what I suggested, that then will, get Grammarly to give me different types of suggestions. So we get into that virtuous cycle where we end up with a result that it's much better, but it's not about getting, the actual end result,
Absolutely. No, you're right.
But it is about that virtuous cycle. And I think that for some time, that's really how it's going to be, our interaction with the AI tools.
Yeah.
Well, you call it by the correct name. You said tools. It's just a tool. It's not going to think for you,
No, absolutely not. It's just that, helpers, but done in the right way. It's, adding to efficiency, right? So,
I just have to say, I think your English is very good
Me
for
too.
having learned it late in life. So I'm impressed.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm always super, conscious about it. And, early on, the worst thing that would happen would be I would go into all these technical explanations, and then, my clients will be like, oh, okay. Can you repeat that?
Well, that might not be an English language problem. That just might be a technology savvy problem. I get the same looks, and I think I speak English okay, and I get the same looks all the time. So.
Yeah, I think you're right, DW. I think there is something to that. So Veronica, this has been really informative. If our audience wanted to learn more about what you're doing at Tango Code or Chassis, or they want to find you, where can they do so?
So LinkedIn, that's definitely where you will find me. We can talk through. We can, you also can get me through the, Tango Code website, and I think that's about it. For social media, it would be LinkedIn.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. I know this was last minute. This was originally booked for a couple months down. So we appreciate you, being really flexible with us and coming in, and hopefully it worked out. I know I enjoyed it. I took a lot away from this conversation. You're an absolute inspiration. So thank you so much for being here. And DW, thank you too for always being able to step in when David Finkelstein isn't able to.
It's my pleasure. Like I said, I always learn a lot whenever I am on here.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun, and I learned too. That's what I like, right? In every one of these conversations, you always take something, with you, right? You come in one way, and you're leaving in a different way. You learn something new. So now your person is have grown in some way or form, and we are all responsible for that. So that's awesome.
That's fun.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yes. All right. Well, with that, I'll go ahead and close out the Deconstructing Data podcast for today. Of course, if you enjoyed this conversation, you might enjoy Omni IQ. Simply go to BDEX.com and click try for free. There's no credit card required. I'll also go ahead and put the QR code here on the screen, as we always do. But you simply upload your first-party customer data, and then you can expand it. And you can also get free analytics on your first-party customer data on birth year, gender, and I'm going to bring DW back in here. DW, what would you add about Omni IQ or any of the things we're doing here at BDEX?
Yeah, Omni IQ is really, it's a machine learning for the average person. It's a way of expanding audiences. Maybe you have a small website, you've made a number of sales, and you want to see who else might be interested. You might want to target them on an ad platform or directly. At any rate, you can actually load up your list to Omni IQ, very user friendly, and then you can see some basic analytics for free. Age distribution, a gender as well, and you can literally expand your audience by many thousands of people who are just like the people who actually bought on your website, or any positive outcome. Sometimes people's positive outcome is that they clicked on something. Okay, well, that you can use that list as well, and it's a way of expanding your customer base. And it's you don't have to understand how machine learning works. You can just upload your list, get the machine learning benefits of a lot of data that we have, and then expand your audience, expand your customer base.
And improve your return on ad spend.
That as well.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you for chiming in there, David. And thank you, everybody who was able to tune in today. So with that, we'll go ahead and close you out, and we'll see you next week.